So, thank you very much for joining the workshop today. Today's workshop is about pre-drawing skills. It's a kind of not a very common word because most of the time we mention pre-writing skills. And pre-writing skill needs the children to have good drawing skills. And actually pre-drawing skill is something before advancement in drawing skill and then handwriting, and then we can expect every person to even utilize his cognitive function to do some essay writing and then go on. So it's a kind of ongoing pattern. We are expecting that population whom can benefit from this workshop are the caregivers or teachers or therapists or even the family, parents of the children who are around the age of 2.5 to 4.5. But most of the time, I have realized that the calendar age is not a kind of very accurate definition of the population. So we mostly talk about functional age. Yeah, in fact, maybe a child at the age of 7 is still struggling with some pre-drawing skills, fortunately, or a child at the age of 3 is ready to start handwriting. So there are different types of ability, different types of people, and we are mostly now paying attention to the normal function we are expecting about a specific certain calendar age. And that's why I'm saying that the calendar age that normally children are expected to perform a good pre-drawing and drawing skill around the age of 2.5 to, let's say, 4.5 maximum. So these age range is the target today, or the target today. So we move to the next slide by a very, very important rule, which is called 5P. 5P rule is very important to know, and once we read through it, we can have a better understanding about behind having a good drawing skill, we need these 5P to be met. The first P is about posture. Posture is about the position of the body on the chair. Yeah. If the bottom is at the back of the chair, if the knees are at right angle, if feet are flat on the floor, if chair is well pulled in, head and trunk are leaning slightly forward or not, hands and forearms are resting on the table. So if you see, many of them are about the proper position upon sitting at the table. So many of them might be fixed to ergonomical consideration, like the height of the table, the height of the chair, and many of them could be improved by some occupational therapy practice or work on improving some shoulder muscles and strength or similar stuff. But all in all, the main question when paying attention to posture is that if a child can maintain an appropriate position on the chair and at the table for a given time of doing that drawing skill or not. For example, you are expecting the child to stay at the table for, let's say, 5 minutes, but you see that after 1.5 minutes, the child starts fidgeting, struggling, leaning forward, backward, struggling with lots of movement, not paying attention directly toward the table, just fidgeting around everywhere, slipping down, sloping, laying on the floor, laying on. Now, when I read, when I just get off the table, or any other task that might be a sign or symptom of lack of proper posture. Okay, so Based on my clinical experience, there is a very, very strong correlation or relationship between good posture and good working tolerance. In fact, we might not be able to have good working tolerance until we don't have good posture. So it is a very important term. It doesn't mean that necessarily any person that has a good posture will have no issue in working tolerance, but at least one of the fundamental factors that is establishing or maintaining the working tolerance is posture. So it is a very, very important thing. Even somewhere in some um, magazine, I have read that even the people who are professionally playing chess in tournaments practice in gym and do lots of workout to become able to sit for a prolonged time without distraction. So in fact, professional chess players are aware that their mental and cognitive capacity might deteriorate or reduce if their physical readiness or posture is not responding to that demand of sitting for a long time, 4 or 5 hours without a break. Yeah. So that's the very, very important thing about posture. Next P is about pencil. But pencil for sure is not exactly pencil. Okay. Pencil could be anything, any tool for drawing. Any tool for drawing is called pencil. Okay. But how am I holding my pencil? Do I have a functional grasp on the shaft of the pencil or not? It is a very, very important thing that we need to pay attention to the writing material, and it is another P which needs to be considered prior to starting a good pre-drawing task. The other P is about pressure. And pressure means that with my DIP joint, the last joint of the muscle, the finger is called DIP, okay? And PIP, DIP, okay? So they are an MP, PIP, DIP. They are the joints of the fingers that are responsible in accurate movement of the hand, and lots of function are coming from them. So the good pressure on the pencil is in a way that there should be a fair balance between the strength or stability of holding and grasping the pencil properly and having some mobility of the pencil on the paper. So if I keep holding a pencil very, very firm, if I have extra pressure on the pencil, I might get tired too fast and too easily. On the other hand, the more I press the shaft of the pencil, the less mobility the pencil has when it comes to the term of writing or drawing. So the balance between mobility and stability is important when we are talking about pressure. The other thing is about pressure, that is about what we put underneath our paper. What we put underneath our paper. Is it a hard surface or a soft one? Or if the angle of this is fully very horizontal, or it is vertical, or it is has a kind of angle. So it is very important to pay attention to the pressure and the kind of something that we put underneath our sheet. And for example, many of the ideal pressure could be illuminated. In fact, if there is a kind of light that's coming from bottom on now shedding the light from bottom of the paper, it gives a lot of attention or ability to the child to pay attention to the task, and also it helps child to pay attention to the details. So it's kind of illuminated surface that you can easily purchase and you can use. And the last thing is about paper, the last P, that is about the surface. The paper is here as a kind of representative of surface. On what surface the child is writing? What is the size of that? What is it angled? If the child is right-handed or left-handed, is the paper put in a proper position on the table? Because if a child is right-handed, you need to slightly shift the angle of paper toward left about 20 degrees so that the child can write with right hand. Vice versa. If the child is left-handed, slightly turning the paper toward right so that the child can easily hold the pencil and write on the paper. So there are kind of slight angle that we should give to the paper while writing. It's because our elbow will get stuck with our body, so we cannot move our elbow and hand when the paper is placed straight in front of us. Yeah. So there are some details that we need to pay attention to. And every time that I think about the 5P rule, I think that how tolerant and patient the children are, because most of the time, even we therapists are not paying attention necessarily to all these items and working, or maybe due to some limitations, the situation in which we are working with children is not optimum or ideal, but the child is kind of adapting himself with the demands or limitations and doing the task. But the more we care about these 5P, we can expect higher outcomes or results from our performance when working with children. So those 5P could be having some explanation from occupational therapy aspect as well. For example, for posture, what we can do for posture is to work on core trunk, work on shoulder stabilization, working on working tolerance, and also considering some ergonomic considerations, yeah? Or for pencil grip, drawing tools, any drawing tool, that or there could be a very working practical one. First, we can start with finger as a writing material. How? Finger painting or drawing with our finger on a glass or on a sand or on a salt, okay? Finger painting or drawing with our finger. Then brush, then crayon with different grips, because many of the crayons are not cylindrical. Many of the crayons are like rocks. They are kind of, there are some crayons existing in the market that the child can hold it like a diamond or a rock, a big size, and they are easier for the children to grip it firmly with good stability. For children whose fine motor or manual dexterity is not well maintained yet, they are useful. And then working on marker, and then pencil, and then pen. So pen is the last step as a writing material or drawing tool. And we need to pay attention to the weight of that material as well, because sometimes for children whose eye-hand coordination is not good, if we put a kind of fair weight on the writing tool, the control of that pencil is easier for the child. So that weight helps the child to maintain the balance between stability, mobility, and the pressure of the pencil on the paper more easily. So sometimes the weight, the heavier is not the worse. Sometimes heavier is the better option. So for in case of pressure, we need to talk about pencil grip, that there are something in the market that you can cover the pencil or marker with that, so that the marker or the writing tool could be a little thicker so that the child can easily hold it. Because if a marker or a pencil in a cylindrical shape is very thin, it is harder for a child to have a kind of controlled grip on that. And I will explain about the grips as well in the next slide. So, or putting or applying some breaks between the tasks, which is very, very important, because most of the time children are trying to work and figure out how much pressure is needed, and they get tired easily and quickly, but we need to pay attention to that. As an example, I just want to bring an example. Let's say if any of you can remember the first sessions of your driving, you would feel that, okay, I was driving, and my driving instructor would instructing me where to look at, how to push the pedal, how to work with the wheel in the meantime, how to look at the mirror. So at the time that I'm paying attention to diverse aspects of driving at the same time, okay, after 15 minutes of driving, if I get off the car, I feel that I'm tired. I'm physically tired, as my whole body muscles have been tensed, have been in contraction. Because then you are going to pay attention to many diverse details of features at the same time, unconsciously or unwantedly, many of your isometric muscles get contracted and don't have enough rest. So it is very important to know that. It is very important to know that after a few minutes of working under pressure, the child who is about to learn the fair balance between mobility and stability gets tired. So several breaks in the task is very important. Also, working on finger identification is very, very, very important, okay? Even that the child learns how the name of each finger is important. Thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger or little finger, okay? You know, they are important because once the child learns what to do with these 5 fingers in hand, he's going to learn how to snip it, how to flip something, okay? So putting a pom-pom and the flipping with different fingers, just practicing to flip, yeah? Or flip a coin, or paging a paper, paging a book, okay? So finger identification is that as if you draw some simple picture at the top of each finger, and then you ask your child to say hi to you by the angry person, so hi, and say hi to you by the shy person, we say hi, okay? Vice versa. So, different fingers for different emotional experience, and then working that the child learns to just slowly raise one of them at each time. Slowly raise one of them at each time and practicing. It's very, very important. Okay, so and joint mobilization is a kind of very sophisticated and experienced work of kind of working on the muscle by kind of warm-up exercise. Still, it is important that the family learn that pre-drawing skills needs warm-up. So warm-up exercises could be working with Play-Doh. Yes, could be push and pull of the stuff or material. Could be making a dough, mixing flour and water together and making a dough, or fidgeting with finger. Yes, these things are not straightforward going to lead to drawing skills, but they are maintaining and warming up the joints and muscles, and then the child gets more physical and sensory and motor awareness of the distal limb, like fingers, and then with that extra awareness that we have given to him, we have provided to the child is readier to learn about finger identification and also different types of grip. So as for Purser, actually there are not lots of things that I can mention, but most of the time it is very important to know. Sometimes when working on educational aspects, we see that we might start from working on whiteboard, which is hung on the wall. And I sincerely suggest each one to start with horizontal surface, slightly angled or graded toward the face of the child, and then gradually working on vertical as well. But vertical writing needs the better wrist stabilization, and it is a little harder for the child. Yep. And last one is about paper, that paper is any surface, as I explained, so you can start with using kind of chalk on the ground, drawing or scribbling on the ground, or drawing with a marker on a fabric, or sand, salt, floor, glass. So there are many, many surfaces that you can write on or draw on, and wall. But most of the time we consider paper as solely as a paper. But even when it comes to the term of paper, if you are meaning that it should be paper, even the papers have different textures. Some papers are brighter, some papers are slippery, some papers are glossy. Okay, there are different types. You should pay attention to what is the preferred texture of paper your child prefer to start writing or drawing on. Some children love origami paper to start writing on. Some other children prefer textured paper. And so we can think of that. So once you go to some store to buy writing or drawing material, just imagine that your child is a little artist. And for a little artist, maybe you prefer to buy a specific cardboard. Don't assume that since he's not in the stage of good drawing, that child doesn't need good material. Okay? It's very important. Look, I'm a music player and I am a musician. I have been music player for, let's say, 32 years. Okay? I started music when I was 8 years. Okay? There is a very, very traditional belief, which is very conventional as well, that we have two different types of music instrument. A kind of music instrument for basic or novice learners, the people or children who are in the beginning of the journey of learning, and they haven't made their mind whether to buy a very super expensive music instrument, because the child has not strongly decided. He's just trying, and the family might choose some kind of cost-effective or economic option. So it's a kind of very conventional belief that, okay, if a child is in the beginning of the learning, so let's start with cheaper material, or let's start with something just as a kind of a music instrument that seems like a music instrument, but doesn't have good sound. Even if a professional player plays with that music instrument, that professional musician cannot make a good sound out of that chip, okay? So basically nowadays, I've reached to this conclusion that from the earlier stage of learning something, good and proper material, not necessarily super expensive one, but good and proper material helps the children to learn better. Okay, so they are all about our mindset that when we are about to start working on drawing a skill, are we considering our children as a student to be, as an artist to be, or we just solely thinking that, okay, you should just think that normally children are supposed to learn and my child is not an exception, so let's start moving on. Okay, so we have some paper here like that, so we can write behind it. Okay, that's the back of it. Okay. But let's take it more serious and spend time on that and prepare a kind of designated area for that. And if there is a serious task that has a value at your home, and then something happens and he draws something or he scribble on a paper, you value on that and hang it to the wall and talk about it and ask questions about that. I think it's the kind of value thing that is well acknowledged in the atmosphere of where you live, okay? Because that drawing is some product from the child's end, okay? And the more you put value on that, the child realizes that it's the thing, it's the behavior that is going to be expected more and more in the next days. So, regardless of this topic, which is endless, there are different types of grip that I want to explain it briefly, and I show the cursor on mouse with that. So the very basic one is called hook. Hook grip is that our thumb is not working, and we have ape hand. In hook grip, we have ape hand, like chimpanzee. Yeah, chimpanzees' hands are like kind of hook grip that hanging from the tree branches without the thumb to be involved. Okay, so that grip is just useful for kind of carrying a bag. Yes, so carrying a bag is maybe one of the only thing that we can do with this hook grip. A cylindrical grip is holding anything that has a cylindrical shape, mostly like a kind of, as it comes from the picture, like kind of a glass or cup, a glass or cup, or yes, similar thing that needs cylindrical grip. If you pay attention to this type of grip, you will see that the thumb is in the opposition of the other finger. And that position of the thumb in front of the palmar version of the finger, it is called opposition, and it is a very, very fundamental aspect of a human that evolutionarily been advanced after lots of years when we decided not to become chimpanzee any longer. So this cylindrical grip and positional maneuver of the thumb is a key factor. The next thing is a kind of a spherical grasp like that holding the ball at the middle of hand. And it is very, very important to have kind of pay attention to the arc of the finger. Look at that, my hand that is making arc. If I want to hold the ball, so the hand of the chimpanzee is like that. Yeah, but it comes forward, a position, and then arc. So that arc or these MP finger, they are very, very, very important for having a good grasp and being able to manipulate object in one hand. So it's a very important thing, like kind of in hand manipulation, when you hold anything at your hand, and then you can change your turn or switch or place, change the difference, or even take the lid off of that, okay? And then you can put it back with that, okay? Or change the direction of it. So And the other aspect is about key pinch or key holding it and holding a key, which is the shaft of this finger, the index finger with the shaft with the front of the thumb to hold something like a page or paper and key. So it is important as well. So there are different types of um, grip here, as you see. For example, here we see two-pot pinch for picking very tiny object, and three-pot pinch, that is the exact version that is going to be expected if you are going to ask a child to hold a pencil. So three-pot pinch is the one which is related to holding a real pencil or marker at hand. Yeah, three-pot pinch is the involved finger or thumb and these two fingers, index finger and middle finger together. So it is going to be expected to work, and we can work on that with many aspects. So as I mentioned, there are different grip types that you see here, and for each one of them, occupational therapists can provide many diverse activities. But now that you know the name of them, you can easily search, and also you can use your creativity to make some activities based on it. So, right now on the slide, given the fact that we are in a lack of time, like always, there are 5 strategies that I have used in clinical setting, and they have worked. They have worked, and they are good strategies to improve pre-drying and drying skills in children. One of them is completing the incomplete picture. Okay, as an example, if you draw a face of a child, a face of a person, and draw every detail of that, every detail of the face, the face has eyes, ears, nose, mouth, neck, and then you ask the child to draw the hair, draw only the hair. So the child is supposed to hold the pencil in hand, hold the marker in hand, and just draw some short line above the circle to draw the hair, like that, straight line. And the child feels that, wow, I completed the picture. There has been some imperfection in the picture that I have done it. I have finished it. So that sense of accomplishment is very, very important feeling. And you can encourage your child to continuously complete what you draw. Gradually, you leave the picture with more details to be completed by child. So leave 1, 2, or 3 aspects, and then your child is supposed to finish them step by step. So it's a strategy that completely, absolutely works if you utilize it correctly. Also, that strategy helps children learn the exact position of the face part or body parts. Because, for example, when you draw nose and mouth, when you ask the child to draw eyes, so actually the face that you have drawn is almost complete. So the child learns where to put the eyes so that it kind of makes sense. Yeah. So working on the localization and the appropriate place or position of each part of the drawing is another benefit of this task. The other strategy is to use some transparent and illuminated surface. I strongly recommend you to take it, to have it, to purchase it, because it's useful for children when working. If you remember your child, all of us, I think, you used to do something like kind of drawing on not just copying exactly as if tracing, then we put some paper underneath our own paper and just drawing on the same line to just drawing a favorite animation character by drawing on the lines that are placed on the no, on the no, underneath our own paper. So it's a thing that we can use, and it's become much easier for a child to follow those lines if the underneath surface is illuminated. Next one is another technique that is useful for children with high cognition and the children who are good at verbalization skills, or children who are good at the technique like dynamic interactive. They can interactively start working with that. So in this technique, you just provide a picture of, let's say, a tree. You draw a tree, a simple tree, but with some details about some apples in the tree. The tree has a shaft, and the tree has some leaves around, and there's a ground that is on the lower side of the page. Okay, so just imagine the fourth attempt as a kind of pattern that you provide to the child. But you ask the child to draw a tree. Just imagine that your child draw like that. So this is in no way it is a kind of tree, but you just consider that you only have allowance to give one corrective feedback at a time. One corrective feedback each time of drawing. Yeah. So the only corrective feedback that you can give to number one is that it is good, it is wonderful. Next time, please draw the line at the ground as well. You missed it. So the child is supposed to draw a ground line here. So at the second attempt, the child does so, you can say is very great. You have improved. Next time, I think you can draw the upper side a little bigger. So this circle should be bigger next time. Understood? So leave the current format, just make one feedback, one extra feedback at that time. So, and then gradually it becomes like this. Okay, after 4 or 5 attempts, it becomes like this. So it is very, very important that we talk with the children, okay, how we can improve it, how we can improve it. Because in every drawing skill, every drawing task, the child is supposed to have self-reflection and self-monitoring. Most of the time, we have bigger issue with children who are very weak at looking. They don't look at the subject. When they are working, they are just looking around. They are not paying attention to what they do and how it affects. So once you encourage your child to find imperfection and discuss about how we can improve it more and more, you are encouraging your child to look at the topic at all, and then it's going to be very helpful. Number 4 is exactly a strategy to activate the sense of criticism in your child. The children who are afraid of making mistake, the children whose tolerance of failure is very low, and the children who don't dare to draw because they feel that they are being judged or they are being criticized for drawing. So they might ask the family, they themselves, and they had to think about all of the strategy that I'm saying, or I have learned them from the children. I have learned from the children what are the adaptive strategies they use at home to make the life sweeter for to them. Okay, so changing a role. You are supposed to draw, and your child is supposed to score you. Okay, so you draw one tree, but in a very careless way. and then you draw, you spend a lot of longer time on drawing a more detailed tree, and ask your child, what is the score? What score you give to this? What the score you give to this if you have been my teacher? And then your child is supposed to give a score to any of them, and then you can ask why you prefer this over that, why you feel that this one is more beautiful than this one. And he's supposed to tell you the different aspects he has paid attention to while scoring those 2 or 3 pictures we drew. Okay, so it's a very, very lovely activity that you can practice at home, and gradually you can transfer to many other drawing tasks or topics, or writing or tracing or writing alphabet or letter or numbers. So it's that. Number 5 is that if you noticed, almost everything could be simplified. Could be simplified to a combination of a few geometric shapes that have been linked or attached from some point to each other. So a tree could be simplified as a rectangle and a circle at the top, which is tree. Most trees are like that. Some trees in autumn are a big rectangle at the bottom and several tiny and thin rectangles at the top. Yes? Clouds are like several circles that have kissed and hugged each other. Yeah? Sun is like a kind of circle with lots of tiny, thin rectangles around itself, or lots of lines. Lines are geometric shape as well. So, as you've noticed, you can use some stencils, and then ask your child to look at something, look at anything, look at this moisturizer, look at this cream, okay? And then say, what you see? There is a kind of oval and one rectangle. So use stencil of oval, use stencil of rectangle, and make a simplified picture of that moisturizer. Make a simplified picture of a shoe. Okay, you together can see the object in a simplified version. And then it's helping your child to pay attention from gross to fine. It's very important to pay attention from gross to fine, proximal distal, gross to fine, general to detail. And gradually, children learn how to mix and match and how to combine the shape to each other to make it more fun. Just imagine you do it at home. Just imagine that you draw a picture, a circle on a paper, and then you are supposed to put two eyes sticker, this goggly eye that you can buy, the eyes that are moving and you can buy in the Dollarama store somewhere. And if you place these goggly eyes at the lower side of the circle, it's a different feeling of the picture. If you move them far from each other, the shape is funny. If you move the eyes close to each other to one side, it has a different look. Just play with that eye on the surface of the face, and you will have lots of fun at that. If you find some fun in this, then you are ready to work with your child, as you have sense of humor and you can make fun out of everything, and you can make the task changing into fun activities. So children hate tasks because tasks are meaningless to them. But children repute activities when there is a meaning in. So there are 5 strategies, and the last slides are about simple suggestions to prepare your child's hand function or drawing skills. There are some activity ideas that you can add to it later on, okay? One of them is about drawing circles around the sticker. Just imagine that you ask you ask your child to put lots of sticker on the paper, and then you ask your child to draw a circle around, draw some shape or line around each sticker to make a home for each one. Imagine putting lots of stickers on Kitty Cat, Hello Kitty, anything like this, and then surrounding each sticker with lines. And then you can gradually make a rule like that your line that you are going to draw around the sticker is not going to cut off other stickers that are placed a little close to them. So you are working on eye-hand coordination and visual accuracy and better movement control of the pencil when drawing. Yeah. The other thing is about watercolor with pom-pom that instead of brush, you give pom-pom to the child and then ask to now put it into the watercolor and then start drawing on any surface, wall, or then you take your child to bathtub, drawing it on the wall of the bathtub that you can easily then wash it or use sponge to wash it. You ask your child to use sponge to wash it later. And then these pom-pom work with watercolor also improve the two-part pinch and three-part pinch without giving that feeling to the child that, oh, it's the writing task. You are improving the three-part pinch of the child, and later the child learns how to hold and handle pencil in a fair balance. Yeah. The other technique could be scribbling when music is played. So it's fun. You're asking your child to show the emotion she is perceiving when listening to a music. So if the music is loud, the child starts to scribble like that. Or if the music is too low and low volume, child is like fine and slightly moving, slowly moving. So when the music is stopped, the child should take the pencil off the floor, off the surface or paper, and waiting or be vigilant about when it is played again, you can start doing that, okay? The other thing is about canceling a shape or picture instead, which is a kind of cognitive aspect, but most of the time children love cognitive and academic tasks to be merged into each other. So you draw lots of shape, fish, glasses, coffee, cup, car, tree, and then once upon a time there was a monkey on the tree. Oh, I said tree. Okay. Once the child is supposed to be vigilant about any word that can find on the paper. So, oh, mommy, you said tree. We have a tree. Use a marker to scribble on that to cancel that shape. But the rule is that upon scribbling or canceling that shape, those lines are not going to cut or cancel any other shapes that have been drawn next to it. So making holes with a sharp pencil on the formal paper. So it's good for improving the pressure of the hands or fingers on the pencil and pressure of the pencil on the paper, okay? So these two types of pressure can be improved or practiced so that the child learn hold a pencil firm enough that when pushing down to make a hole on the paper, the pencil doesn't get slipping on the finger. Okay, the finger can hold it firmly enough to push down without giving extra freedom or additional freedom to the pencil in hand. Okay, so these making holes task is still a good task for activating the three-part power, the strength of the muscle involving in three-part pinch. So stencil and stamping. Most of the time children repute and welcome the material that give them some ready drawing thing, yes? Just imagine that everyone feel that we can play piano, we can play keyboard. Why? Because every key of the piano that you push, it has a kind of sweet, a favorite, and true sound. It's not false. If you push a piano key, it's not false. It's never false. You just play and you feel that, oh, I'm playing piano. Because the sound of piano is ready. It's readier than violin. If you are given a violin, in no way you can make a proper sound out of that. Yeah? So the sound you can make out of violin is not a ready sound, but piano is ready. So stencil and stamping are readier material, making the drawing skills easier for children and involve them, help them get involved in the task for a longer time. And last thing is about just learning the visual pattern or copying the visual pattern by using swaps. That kind of some swaps are up and down, some matchstick that you can use. That some and one end of the matchstick is different from the other end. You can cut the swabs into two halves so that it's become very similar to matchstick, and then you make kind of house with that two-dimensional house, and then you ask your child to copy the exact pattern, picking them tiny, fine motor, and also looking the skills and sorting and arranging them together. So they are all activities that can facilitate fine motor skill, eye-hand coordination, and visual perception. So I'm done with the slides. So if there is any question, I'm ready to answer. Thank you very much.